Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Liberty Defense's Corporate Update webinar. This is Trevor Brucato with RB Milestone Group. RBMG is Liberty Defense's US-based investor relations firm. Liberty is listed in Canada on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol SCAN or SCAN, and in the US on the OTCQB under the symbol LDDFF. Joining us today is the company's CEO, Bill Frain, who will be going through a brief overview of the company, recent announcements, and upcoming milestones. Following the presentation, we'll be addressing questions that have been submitted during the registration process and those submitted live. If you have any questions, you may submit them in the Zoom Q&A module. Please note this presentation is being recorded today, May 16th, 2024. Of which will be emailed to registrants and made available on the company's website at libertydefense.com. Following today's event, the company's investor survey will go live and will be emailed to all stakeholders. The results on Liberty's perceived strengths, weaknesses, and milestones will develop trends of which will be very helpful in strengthening the company's investor communications efforts and guide the focus of upcoming events. So your participation will be much appreciated. Please note today's presentation may contain forward-looking statements that are subject to risks and uncertainties that may be out of Liberty Defense's control and should not be construed as a recommendation or solicitation to buy or sell any security. The company's full disclaimer is in their presentation and on their website at libertydefense.com. Lastly, RB Milestone is not a registered investment advisor or a broker-dealer. For more information on us, please visit rbmilestone.com. Now it is my pleasure to turn it over to Liberty Defense's CEO, Bill Frain. Bill, the stage is yours.
All right, great. Thanks, Trevor. And thank you all for participating today in this update. As Trevor mentioned, I'm just going to give a brief overview. I won't get into a lot of the technical details. I'd rather leave some more time for Q&A towards the end of the presentation. And certainly, please visit the website for some of the latest news announcements, and also there's a video on there from a demonstration that we did at LaGuardia Airport. So it'll give you a much better feel for the technology. But I'll go through here a few of the slides. So today we're going to talk about, the two products that Liberty is in production of. And our flagship product, which is the HEXWAVE, which many of you are familiar with. It's a walkthrough screening portal. It's automatically looking for threats on the person, metallic, non-metallic, in real time, 3D video rate imaging, and it's a walkthrough screening portal. And I'll talk a little bit about the markets that we're in, but it's an exciting time for us. We have gotten out of I'll call it the development stage and the R&D stage. We're now in full production. We're now in commercialization. We're selling the product, we're shipping, and we're installing. So really exciting for us to, reap the benefits of years of hard work on this. And then the second product is our high-definition AIT upgrade, which is to the existing body scanners that are in U.S. airports and around the world. There's about 2,000 of those. And we have the exclusive license to do the upgrade through Pacific Northwest National Labs. And we also have a sole source contract with the TSA to upgrade these units in the field. It's a development contract. And again, I'll touch base in a little bit about it. But obviously, we're very excited about our ability to be able to develop this kit and improve not only the detection, but the throughput and reduce the false alarm rate and make it a better passenger experience as you're going through the airport. So we're based here in Boston, our headquarters in Wilmington, Massachusetts, just north of Boston. We have about 20 employees here, and we also have a few resources in Atlanta. And then we have some of our investor relations and our chairman of the board based out of Vancouver. But I think if you've been following this story over the last couple of years, you see the need and the demand for this capability. I mean, it's, not only is it the guns and the domestic and international terrorist activities, it's new threats that are coming out. It's the ghost guns, the 3D printed guns, the liquid potential explosives, the powders and the gels. And that's really why we developed this disruptive technology. in order to be able to detect that broader range of threats. And unfortunately, it's become a societal need where we have to have this type of technology in everyday places we go, in the schools, in malls, distribution centers, corporate facilities, stadiums, correctional facilities, courthouses, you name it. It's unfortunate that we have to have this technology, but I've been in this business for 30 years in the security space, and we need to continue to develop technologies that's going to stay ahead of the bad actors. And that's exactly what we've done at Liberty Defense. And we've done it with a very seasoned team, leadership team, and engineering team that have been in this business for a long time. A lot of the individuals came from L3, BAE, Raytheon, very seasoned and experts in the field of security applications, AI, software, and hardware capabilities. So this is just the management team here. You can see Jeff Gordon, who's our VP of engineering. He was the architect and engineer behind the body scanners that are at the airports today that you see. Some X-ray technology, trace technology, broad range of capability. And we have a very good and supportive board of directors led by Linda Japsta, who spent 35 years at CBP doing border protection. She was managing close to 4,000 people. So she's been very instrumental with us in developing our strategy and technical capability. And then Arjun Grewal as well, based out of Canada, an entrepreneur, been in Canadian Armed Forces. And again, they're both very active, as well as Daryl Rebeck, our chairman, in our day-to-day operations and helping us to build our strategy. So just a little bit here on the technology, and again, high level. So we're using very safe radio frequency waves, or millimeter wave, which is at 6 to 10.6 gigahertz. We emit an RF signal, so it's active. We emit the RF signal, and we capture the data as the person is walking through the system. And again, if you visit our website, you'll be able to see the video. But as the person is walking through the system, we're taking snapshots at about 30 frames per second. So it's very quick, very active, and we collect all that data, and we use AI to actually determine if it's a threat or not a threat. So again, we're looking for the different types of threats, so the different shapes of the guns, the knives, the explosive materials, IEDs, flares, whatever it might be, drugs, currency that shouldn't be on the person or on the body. At the same time, we're able to identify those objects which are not threats. So your wallet, your keys, your cell phone. So you don't have to divest those items, so it's not as disruptive as you're going through a checkpoint application. And then what we do is with the AI, we automatically identify where the threat is on the person. So you can see here, it's a mannequin that we use. We'll identify if it's, on the front or the back, the ankle, the hip, the shoulder, wherever it might be. And we do that so that it's easy for the operator to then do alarm resolution. So this is all happening in real time. The decision is quick, within 1 second, that by the time the person walks through, that we're able to identify the threat. And we've had quite a few people who have come through here in our facility in Wilmington. And when they come to see the technology, they see how impressive it is and how effective it is looking at those broader range of threats. So here's the update on kind of since the last time we did a webinar. We've had a lot of success in, again, we're actively shipping the units out of our Boston facility here. We're manufacturing here, doing the low rate production. And, as we grow, as we see the significant ramp up, and as we see our backlog grow, we will look to a third-party contract manufacturer. It's very straightforward. It's test and it's assembly. But we are growing, we're shipping, we're installing, we're at national labs, we're at airports, we've shipped to universities, we'll be shipping out to courthouses and other applications very soon. We've had some exciting awards that we just announced over the last 2 weeks down in Latin America with Chile juvenile court system. And that was actually an interesting win because they want to be able to screen from a humanitarian perspective the juveniles that are going through the court system, instead of using X-ray based technology, they want to use a safe technology, which is HEXWAVE. So we won that tender in a competitive bid. And then we also announced our first U.S. airport for aviation worker screening in New York. And so we'll be delivering that system towards the end of July. And I'll talk a little bit about the worker screening in a minute. But, you know, I've been asked a few times, you know, how come you can't announce where the unit is going? We will be able to announce where it is going. It just takes time. We're working with government agencies or state contracts. So they want to be able to tell their employees when something is happening. So especially for employee screening. So we will be able to announce specifics on where these HEXWAVE units are going in the near term. And then we're seeing a lot of demand. You know, we've been seeing a demand for many months, but you know, now we're starting to see tenders come out, some more orders. The aviation worker screening program, again, I'll talk about in a minute. Correctional facilities. We sold 3 units to Elkhart County in Indiana. And what they're looking for, and from a courthouse perspective and at the correctional facilities, is not only the guns and the knives that we're seeing, but also those non-metallic, not only threats, but things that can be used as currency within the prison system, like drugs and like money. So they're looking for a broader range of detection. Government facilities, obviously we have the election coming up here in the US, so we're getting a lot of inquiries there. And then, you know, the healthcare market, you know, we've seen some activity, certainly in emergency rooms, but just some of the university medical centers that are looking again for next generation type technology. And we're able to do this because we have very strong partnerships within the security market. Viking Detection, a privately held company here in the Boston area, very successful in their applications and security applications, not only at some of the market verticals we're looking at, but with CBP. And then also Rapiscan, which is a division of OSI Systems from an international perspective. And they're now active in selling on an international basis. So we've got strong global distribution capability. And again, you know, they're helping support our internal sales team to help develop the market and grow the backlog as we've seen today, which we're now at about 60 plus units in backlog that we'll be delivering this year, which is about half of our plan for the year. We've also been very active in hosting different customers, different verticals. We were just down at the TSA where we shipped a HEXWAVE system. So to evaluate the system and look to help them to be able to identify different types of threats to be used for aviation worker screening and potentially at the checkpoint sometime in the future. We worked with Safe Skies recently at Oakland Airport for the aviation worker screening program. We just had a trial in Denver. They've been very supportive. Denver is very aggressive and on the forefront of technology. We hosted a biosecurity group from various universities, Duke, Texas, Colorado State. We had a very successful trial at the New England Infectious Disease Lab here at Boston University to be able to screen all their employees coming through. And so they suggested to us that we host this group. And again, it was a very successful trial. And then we demonstrated the HEXWAVE for the second time at the AAAE, the American Association for Airport Executives Conference in Nashville. And we partnered with Viking Detection on that. And again, to heighten the awareness, as we know that this aviation worker screening program is coming to the forefront for a lot of these airports. So I won't get into the market, you know, validation. It's significant. Any way you look at it, I've seen ranges from 5 billion to 100 billion for the market, but it's significant. There's demand. There's demand not only for next generation technology, but new technology that is going to have the capability to be able to stay not only with the existing threats, but the threats that are going forward. So you can see on the right-hand side here on the slide, you know, we're focused on the aviation market, correctional facilities and prisons, very active. We have a couple of tenders out right now that we've responded to from a proposal perspective. Distribution centers. Distribution centers are not only looking for, you know, keeping their employees safe and keeping threats out, but also when they leave the facility looking for theft prevention. So again, we're able to train the algorithm and the AI capability to look for those different objects so that people can't steal. And then critical infrastructure, I mentioned government facilities. They're looking for screening of all threats. These major labs that have high security, like Los Alamos National Labs, where we have 2 systems in place looking for recording devices. So they don't want anybody going in with phones or cameras, because obviously they want to keep their programs safe and secure. And I mentioned hospitals. Obviously, schools is a primary market capability, as well as the sports and entertainment venues who are looking for all threats. And again, looking for the different types of threats. On the international front, we just demonstrated our ability to detect flares, which can create a diversion for somebody else to do something different. So again, the HEXWAVE has a lot of different capabilities and advanced capabilities other than what I would say the typical metal detectors that are out there today. So just touching on, the aviation worker screening, and I think we've mentioned this, in a past release or two, but it was in April of 2023, the TSA, they issued an airport security program. It was a national amendment, which basically required all U.S. airports to adopt physical screening procedures for employees that have access to the secure side area. So in other words, when you're going from land side over into air side, the TSA certainly saw that there was a risk for employees that weren't going through a screening process. So they issued this mandate. We're working closely with airports. And basically what it's going to require is over the next few years that these airports are going to have to start screening the employees, and it's going to have explosive detection capability, which is where HEXWAVE fits in, and our ability to do it at pace while we're doing it. Also to be able to have the individuals where they don't have to divest. So we've been very active over the last year. We're seeing a lot of tenders come out. I'd say we're active right now with close to 10 different airports, obviously announcing our first one in New York. But, we've done a lot of demonstrations over the past year in anticipation of this mandate being fully adopted at, Denver, LaGuardia, JFK, Oakland, LAX. We've been in Boston, a lot of the major airports. And just following that AAAE show that we went to in Nashville, we're starting to see these tenders come out at small to mid-size to large airports. So we're expecting a lot of activity over the next several months. As you can see here, just from this is a third-party market outlook, there's close to 500 units that will need to be deployed over the next few years. Just from a competitive standpoint, and I won't go through all the different individual companies that are here, but our space, we're looking at, the traditional metal detectors that are out there, the airport body scanners, and then the high throughput super metal detectors that have capability, and really more to focus on, what differentiates HEXWAVE from the rest of the marketplace. And it really comes down to a couple of things, our ability to detect a broader spectrum of threats, being a little repetitive, but the fact that we can see the non-metallic threats as well as the metallics. We have an FCC waiver for indoor and outdoor application. It is high throughput, real-time 3D video rate imaging, which helps with the AI capability. And the AI sometimes can be better than actually a human looking at it. So as you're, again, walking through the system, we're identifying the threats in real time. Again, you don't have to divest your keys or wallets or cell phones or other objects. We do have algorithms, though, that can be put on the machine, a couple of different types of algorithms, where we do have customers who want to see those threats. They want to see the phones. They want to see the keys and wallets. They want to see everything. So we have an algorithm to do that as well. There's no privacy concerns or health concerns. And one of the biggest differentiators for us and competitive advantage, this is mobile. It's scalable. It can be moved around to different checkpoint applications within the airport or at a correctional facility or at the hospital. It takes less than 15, 20 minutes to set up. It's really plug and play. And it's open-ended system, so we can work with facial recognition, access control, video surveillance systems, and other applications. This is just a snapshot. I won't spend some time here. Some of you have seen this before, but we're looking and working with a lot of different verticals, and you can just see here from the various logos of who we're working with in the different marketplaces. And this has come up a few times just to kind of give you what our business model is. So this is a hardware sale. So point of sale, the contracts that we have been receiving and the tenders that we are proposing. So we will sell the HEXWAVE technology. We do have leasing capability from a third party, but to date, basically, we've been selling the product. We'll ship the product to the customer, and usually you get a payment within 30 days. But what comes along with this is a recurring revenue stream. So you're going to get the maintenance and support capabilities. So that's your parts and your labor. The biggest thing, and again, having been in this industry for such a long time, the biggest thing for the customer base is operational availability. In addition to the performance, they want to have the unit up and running 100% of the time, or as close to 100% of the time as possible. So usually the customer will buy a 3 to 5 year maintenance plan and software updates and AI updates, and that happens at kind of point of sale, and then that happens on an annual basis. And that's usually about 10 to 15% of the contract value that you get on an annual basis per unit. And also, we have the capability to update the software. So we anticipate these units, once they get in place, to be in place for 10 to 15 years. So we have the capability to utilize the software to send updates wirelessly to our customer base. So for example, if a customer wants to have a new threat looked at, and we know this is going to happen, bear spray, mace, whatever it might be, types of drugs, different types of liquid threat capability, we're able to do that in-house here in the factory with the engineering team and send that update to the customer wirelessly. So I'm just going to switch gears here for a moment to talk a little bit about this TSA upgrade and the kit development. And you can see on the top right-hand side, what we're doing and what we're working with TSA on is actually the hardware. So if you've been through the body scanner where you put your hands up, there's technology that rotates around you. We are developing new hardware that can be a full retrofit. And the TSA has invested close to $6 million in Liberty today, or to date. We do have some contract options in place that we anticipate that to be funded to complete the program. And the program will go through probably early to mid 2025, where we will be delivering kits to the TSA. It's actually a very simple, straightforward process. We will lift up the hardware that's in there, and we'll replace it with the new hardware. And the whole goal that TSA is looking for, again, is for, enhance the throughput capability, the passenger experience, but also to be able to detect new and evolving threats at a low false alarm rate and a high throughput capability. So we're working very closely with them, and they'll be deploying this over the next 5 to 7 years. And so we expect a steady ramp from a revenue perspective as they get the budget capability to award the contracts, in the second half of 2025. And there's 1,042 body scanners that will need to be upgraded in the US. So it's a $100 million opportunity really sitting in front of us at Liberty Defense. And there's another 1,000 units out there in the field globally. So just from a unit sales perspective, you can see it's a nice healthy ramp that we have. Again, we shipped 2 units out in the field to Los Alamos back in late 2023. We're targeting to do more than 100 units this year. More than half of that is already in backlog. And then we see a nice ramp up and hopefully conservative ramp up as we see the impact of the aviation worker screening program and the other market developments that we talked about before. And then you can see the HDAIT program, assuming all goes well from a timing perspective, then in 2025, we would start to see some revenue generated from that if we are awarded the contract. This is our capitalization structure. We have 160 million shares outstanding, warrants outstanding of about 50 million. Those are higher priced than the 20 cents per share. And you can see we've done a few rounds of financing over the past few years. We've actually been very successful in raising funds since 2021. Close to $40 million Canadian has been raised. And then, so just to wrap up and open it up for, Q&A for everybody, the technology is validated. So even before we got involved in this 3-4 years ago, millimeter wave is successful. And it's a proven technology. When you think about the fact that millimeter wave is being used today at US airports and globally for the last point of entry for passengers before they get on a plane, it's very effective from a detection capability. We're ramping up sales, customer adoption is happening, we're gaining market awareness, we're delivering units into the field, so we're getting some performance data, which is being very well received. The market is clearly primed for this type of technology, and unfortunately, it's a necessary technology that we need to have in place, but I know people want to be safe and secure, and they want the next generation enhanced screening. The pipeline is growing. Each day, we're getting new presentations, new introductions to potential customers, and that's resulting in orders for us. And then, as mentioned, we've got key partnerships in place for the rapid growth, very supportive. Viken is a great partner, and Rapiscan on the international front. And, there's just growing industry interest, not only in the capabilities that we have from HEXWAVE, but also in the upgrade kits that we have with the HDAIT. So Liberty Defense is starting to be recognized as one of the major players in the security market space. And that's really due to the people that we have in place and the technology. And, we are very well protected from a patent perspective with MIT and with Pacific Northwest National Labs. And that's really a major barrier to entry. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Trevor. And again, I appreciate everybody taking the time and the support that you've had with Liberty.
Thank you, Bill. We will open it up to Q&A. And again, if you have any questions, you can submit them in the Q&A module. Let's kick off with the questions that were submitted through the registration process. And Bill, I do see a lot of questions coming in here live as well. So we'll try to get through all of these, everyone. And if not, we will do our best to get back to you directly. On the technology side, how important is the ability to find contraband, not just on weapons, in some verticals? And is that important for industrial warehouses and any other verticals?
So it is, and we're starting to see more of that. I think as we get into border applications, not only in the US, but globally, to be able to see drugs, see money, believe it or not, meats that are being carried in on the person, animals are coming in. There's a lot of strange requests that are coming in, but we do see some requests specifically in the corrections market for drugs, cigarettes, and currency detection. And, we're starting to see too that the need from a distribution center, I think from a warehouse perspective on that theft prevention, the technology pays for itself, not only as a deterrent for someone to steal something, but actually catching something as well.
And you have the capability of updating your systems as new threats emerge from a non-metallic and metallic perspective. So there's a question here that is asking about the updating customers through real-time reporting and the updates on those systems. So if you can comment on that, that'd be helpful.
Yes, I think I understand the question. Well, there's one thing. So all the data that we get, so we'll get performance metrics, live data that the customer can have access to. So how many people have gone through the machine, the detection capability, what threats were found so that they can streamline their process. And at the same time, when they are looking for a different threat or capability, they'll send it to us. And then we bring it back in-house. We do the data collection, we do the training on the system, and then we send them the software update, again, wirelessly. So it can happen very quickly.
Thanks, Bill. Is it fair to say that Liberty is about 2 times the speed of a traditional metal detector? And can you find more items than metallic weapons detectors?
So, that's our goal. So we do about 700 people per hour. And, the technology is based on the fact that we're looking for metallic and non-metallic threats. So certainly non-metallic items may get through a metal detector where, we've developed a system to be able to detect those non-metallic items.
Can you comment on the total addressable market opportunity here?
Yes, I mean, it's significant. It's in the billions. As mentioned in the presentation, we've specifically identified, close to 500 units for airports for the aviation worker screening program. And, we continually get requests as well as our kind of aggressive approach from a sales perspective. We're actively in tenders right now for correctional facilities, courthouses, prisons. So it's really hard to equate, but it's in the billions. It's a significant market.
How is Liberty's relationship progressing with your existing customers, and do you anticipate additional purchase orders?
We do. I mean, so far, for the deployments that we've had, the demonstrations we've done in the field and in-house, again, we're gaining a very strong reputation from a performance perspective. And, that's the goal, is to have repeat customers and have them order more equipment as, they see the performance in the field. So, we anticipate that to happen in the near future.
Bill, during these trials and the end result here of working with these customers, how often are you seeing a scenario where you are replacing traditional metal detectors?
It's a combination. Some of the customers we have had no security in place or capability. Others were using different types, whether it was handheld or metal detectors or some other application. I think, for us, it's having that capability to have next generation future technology that can detect a broader range of threats. And that's really the request that we're getting from the customer base. So it's a combination of, new technology for them and replacing existing technology.
Any feedback from NATO, DoD, or NSSA?
So we did the NATO trial. I think we have shown in the past, we had very good performance on day 1, day 2, and day 3. We've received some initial feedback, but it is being kept classified. So it's really not of much value to us today. So we have a call scheduled with NATO in the next couple of weeks to try and dig deeper into the performance of the system and the actual performance of detection of various types of threats. So when we get that data and information, we'll certainly be happy to share it.
Thank you. All right. We have a question specifically about India and the potential to offer your solutions overseas.
Yeah, so we, with our partner Rapiscan, they're very well positioned in India. Just as an example of, international opportunities. We've done the sales training, we've done the operator training, we've done the technical training with those folks, as well as our partner in the domestic area for with Viking. So we anticipate that this will have global adoption. We've already shipped a unit off to Subic Bay in the Philippines, to Amsterdam. Obviously, we have some in Canada where we will be shipping to Chile. So outside the US, we see a strong adoption of the technology as well.
You certainly have your hands full with the strong relationship with the TSA in the US. So question here is on the timeline for the $100 million retrofit contract with the TSA. Can you elaborate on the timeline there? And is it safe to say that sales from your upgrade kit will quickly exceed your initial HEXWAVE product?
Well, so we have a great relationship with TSA. We work with them on a weekly basis on this development. We know it's a priority for them. It's obviously a priority for us on the development of the kit. So we're working hand in hand with TSA on the adoption of the kit. We would expect, in the next 12 to 18 months, to hopefully see those kits being put in the field, tested, evaluated, and then hopefully have, full adoption to where TSA is confident to be able to put those in the field over the next 5+ years.
How many units would need to be sold to reach cash flow positive or break even? And is there a definitive timeline or deadline for adoption on the aviation worker screening? So we can split that up into two pieces there.
Yeah. Well, just on the adoption front, again, the mandate was initiated in 2023. I think the TSA is handling it well in that, they've issued the mandate. They're letting the airports now ramp themselves up from a technology perspective and a labor perspective. But I can just tell you, we're seeing a lot more activity than just 3 months ago. And we're seeing not just activity in doing demonstrations, but in actual RFPs that are being submitted. We are, responding obviously to those RFPs, and we would expect to have some awards come in the next few months. And then I think once they see the rest of the airport see these being adopted, it's going to become the norm, just like the body scanners were at the airport. So I think we see it's going to be an aggressive timeline for the airports to adopt this.
All right, and then back to the question as it relates to the cash flow positive, if you can comment on that and the approximate value of the backlog.
Yeah, so we're at about 100, we've anticipated about 150 units for us from a HEXWAVE perspective. We do have some contracts, obviously, outside of that with TSA from development. So we're looking at, later first half of 2025 to be able to become cash flow positive. The backlog today is 60+ units. So we've got about $7-8 million in existing backlog.
Thank you, Bill. Okay. I need to jump around here. So from the capital markets perspective, to continue on that front, if or when, actually this does relate to more of the manufacturing, if or when Liberty obtains a sizable purchase order, what's Liberty's plan to facilitate that from a manufacturing perspective?
Yeah, so we're just doing the low rate production here in our Boston facility, probably up to 50-60 units. We're actively in discussions with third-party contract manufacturers locally here. It is not a machine shop that we need. It's really, a lot of this stuff is off the shelf. We have good vendors that are very local here. So it's more assembly and test capability. So again, we're actively in discussions with third-party contract manufacturers to help us ramp up. And we do anticipate having to ramp up. So probably in Q4 this year.
And with an increase in capacity on the manufacturing front, presumably that would result into higher efficiencies and higher margins, right?
It should, yes, as we get into more volume. And it's also good for us because we'll be able to respond to customers with better delivery terms. So all in all, with the higher volume purchases, we would anticipate having better margins going forward.
Would you since we're on the subject, would you be able to comment on this? At what unit volume level would you need to hit to shift to a contract manufacturer?
Well, I think we're planning to do that. We're not really set up as a manufacturing house. So I think as soon as we are able to line up that third-party contract manufacturer, we will go with them. We're going to continue, obviously, to build and develop here, given the backlog that we have. But again, I would anticipate, in the fourth quarter, of this year, we'll probably have somebody lined up to do the manufacturing.
Thanks, Bill. Okay. Is the plan to eventually uplist to a major U.S. exchange like NASDAQ?
You know, it's in our plans. This is a U.S. story. The business is here in the States. Obviously, we've been in some initial discussions to be able to make that happen, and our goal would be to get there to uplist, within 2024.
In your opinion, can you comment on the current valuation of the company compared to its peers?
Well, I certainly think I mean, it's a difficult question to answer, but, certainly feel that we're undervalued today, for sure. If you look at our peers, they're anywhere from 100 million to 300 million. So certainly with the investments that we have made, and where we are now from a growth perspective, I would anticipate that we'd be closer to that lower end range of $100 million compared to our peers.
So since we're on the peers and a competitive landscape type of topic, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on your peers and if there are any competitors as it relates to your upgrade kit.
So from the upgrade kit perspective, there's, a few businesses that have the full system. Without getting into a lot of details, we're partnering with TSA, and the buzzword is kind of this open architecture, where we're working with several other parties to make this the best in class and the best of the best with other technology partners for the upgrade kits. So right now we have the sole source contract to do that. And then the first part was just on the other, with regard to the HEXWAVE capability, the competitors out there, your typical metal detectors, you've got CHEA, you've got Evolve, Extract One. From a millimeter wave perspective, you have Rohde & Schwarz, which is a German-based company.
And so from a competitive advantage perspective, you have non-metallic and metallic threats. Would you say that the non-metallic threats is one of the key components that separates you from your peers?
It is. Not only that, but the mobility of the system as well. And just the fact that it is a proven technology that's going to be upgradable, so we can give the customer confidence that as these new threats evolve, we're going to be there. So we're going to be future-proof for them, to be able to adapt to the new threats, to update the system in the field with algorithms. So it's a broader range of detection capability. It's the mobility of the system, the indoor-outdoor use capability.
So you have the HEXWAVE and the upgrade kit. Perhaps you can talk a little bit about the shoe scanner and the other technologies that you guys have been working on and have talked about in the past.
Yeah, sure. So we do have the exclusive license for a shoe screener. We are in the process of working closely with the laboratory, Pacific Northwest National Labs, on that capability, and with TSA. So I can't get into too much detail right now on the capability, but we have the license. We are working on it, and we hope to have that, as a product in the next 24 months.
Thank you, Bill. We'll take a couple more questions here. What is the company's plan to continue funding future growth?
Yeah, so we've had some industry partners make some investments in us. Now that we are, shipping product, we're generating some internal cash flow for us as well. And, our goal is to be able to build up the inventory capability so that we can start meeting these demands So, we've got TSA funding, which is non-dilutive to the shareholders on the HDAIT program. So those are just some of the ways right now that we're funding the existing operations.
Thank you, Bill. And for our last question, Bill, if you can please provide a summary of Liberty Defense's near-term milestones that investors can look forward to.
Yeah, so I think, for us, HEXWAVE, it's about, getting sales, getting these purchase orders in place. The technology is in a very good position. So we're out there doing a lot more business development capability, getting market adoption and acceptance. So anticipate awards coming in for the near term. And then just our continued progress on the high definition AIT program with the TSA, and hopefully get some of the options exercised under that contract and continued development. But I would anticipate, more orders on the HEXWAVE, more deliveries coming up soon, and wide variety of the market verticals that are going to be adopting the technology.
Exciting stuff going on, Bill. Appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for joining today's event. As a reminder, please keep an eye out for Liberty's brief investor survey, which we'll be emailing you all shortly. The trends developed in that report will ultimately help strengthen Liberty Defense's investor communications efforts and guide the focus of upcoming events. So again, your participation will be very helpful. Help us help you, as one might say. Again, today's recording will soon be emailed and posted to Liberty Defense's website at libertydefense.com. If you have any additional questions that have not been addressed or that have not already been submitted, please email us at liberty@rbmilestone.com. Again, that's liberty@rbmilestone.com. Thanks again. That concludes today's webinar. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. You are now free to disconnect.
Thanks, everybody.